Hello guys, you're once again welcome to my channel. And in this part of the video, briefly, I will be showing you how to install physically your router and your switch to an ISP server. And after this, in the part one, which we will see how to configure physically your routers, your Cisco routers and Cisco switch to your ISP supplier. And in the next video, I will be showing you how to configure using POTI, how to configure this router, how to configure the Cisco 1800 series router, and how to, for example, configure DHCP, the Ethernet or Gigabyte cable port, Ethernet port on this routers, and how to configure DNS, how to configure a certain port of these routers to work, and how to shut down certain port, and how to configure, how to do how to also configure voice port over these switches. I will teach you almost everything on how to configure these switches and routers. Just follow me after this part one of this video. Now, what you see here is a Cisco router with one 800 series router, and so of course, and it has a 64 megabyte Ethernet card. And now, and you also see what I have here. It's a Cisco Catalyst 2950 Cisco port, switch with 48 port. Now, let's not pay too much attention. Of course, I also have a Wi-Fi router, which I intend to do later, maybe if I want to extend the network bandwidth to another for this router, maybe I want to extend it into a Wi-Fi router bandwidth, then I can use this Wi-Fi router, which I will definitely also do and show you on my video. I also have also an extra additional computer here, which I will join to this switch to communicate with the whole network. And also I have my device here, which I would use to configure this router. Of course, I have a small ventilator just to reduce the extreme heat coming out from this both switcher and router. Now, if we pay attention to our Cisco, for example, our Cisco router, we see that we have a certain port. We have what we call the console port. Now, this is the console port where it is written. I hope you can see this clearly. Yeah, where you can see console, and you can also see FE1. I think my camera, it's a bit shady. Yeah, so you could see FE1. This is the fast internet port 1 and fast internet port 0. And you can also see that the Cisco 1800 series has also 8 port. And we also have an ISDN port and USB port, and also a switch off, a power button and a power port. And of course, this is just to lock, to secure your router. And so for the switch, we only have just the console port behind the switch. That's all, and the power button. And in the long run, I have with me now, a lot of people make this error that they want to configure a router and they use an Ethernet port on both ends to connect the router to the computer which they want to configure, which is very wrong. This can definitely fry your device when you try to connect an Ethernet port cable from your device, router, or switch into your computer just to configure it. Like, for example, to configure this router, we use the console port. The console port is always used to configure every device for the switches and routers. And so when you plug in the RJ45 or Ethernet cable on your console port, and you connect also an RJ45 directly to your internet port on your laptop or your computer, this is very dangerous. This could fry definitely your device. So what kind of ports do you need? What kind of cable do you need in the situation? What you need is what I have here. You need a USB, possible USB port to an Arrow J45 Ethernet cable port. However, you might not get this directly in the market. Maybe you could, but I don't think so. You could as well, but if not, it's fine. You can always buy two cables, just like I did here, which you have a DB9 and a female port series, which a DB9 to my internet cable and a port female series to my USB, which I just joined here. And what you do is you connect this to your console port on your device that you want to configure, and you can then put this as USB port on your computer that you want to use to configure this device. And so you would see why it is necessary to use, if possible, the USB, because over the PuTTY, for example, which is an application software that we're using to configure this device, you are going to select the port number that you are connecting this USB cable to, so that you can be able to run and go inside the device that you want to configure. So right away, let's just kickstart it. I already plugged. Let me do a rough turnover, which is not so nice, but let's try it. I've shown you. Now what I want to do now is I want you to see whatever I'm doing. So as you already seen, I have also another extra computer there, and now do not mind how messed up this whole cable are. But now what I do is I didn't tell you that I already have this is an Ethernet cable that is running from my ISP. I have an ISP supply in my living room, which this cable is coming from the router in my living room, which definitely will go to one of the ports. Now, this goes to, for example, I can decide to use one of these fast internet ports from ISP. So I just plug this into my, for example, I can decide to put it in my fast internet port 1. Now my ISP, it's already on my fast internet port 1. Then remember, the console goes to this fast internet cable goes to my console, which from my console port, it goes to my computer, my USB port of my computer. So it goes directly into my USB port, which I want to use to configure this device. Now, if you take note, the second FE port, FE0 port, I connected the ISP Internet Service Provider Ethernet port to the FE Fast Internet port 1. Now, the FE, which is Fast Internet port 0, where do I connect this? Now, I would get another, for example, another internet cable, which I mostly clicked all of this cable myself. Then I plug this into my FE0 fast internet cable 0. Now, where do I put this? Now, where I put this is that I want to, because what I'm trying to do in this whole show is that I want to configure my router so that it can communicate with my ISP provider. And from my ISP provider, this is the main goal. This is what just the initial configuration of this device means. It means I'm configuring this router so that it can communicate. It can communicate with the ISP provider, and from that ISP provider, I can be able to share that configuration with all the devices that will be connected to this network. That's the goal. As simple as that. So what I want to do now is, remember, I connected this port to FE0, Fast Internet port 0, and now I can put this on my switch. I can decide to take any port on my switch. I can decide to take any port on my switch. Now I've done this. So on 1, then I also want to, for example, connect this whole this device to this network, and so I already have a Ethernet cable running from there, and so I can decide to use port 3, for example. I can decide to use down. I can decide to also use the down port, and so I can also decide to use this port as well. So, however, this is as simple as first physical installation of your device, of trying to configure your router, which is a Cisco 1800 series. So one thing you must also note is that for example, for the switch, I can decide to configure both at the same time. But because I only have one USB port cable to Ethernet port, I can only run first the router configuration. But however, if I have two cables or two of these cables, I could run already from the console of the switch and from the console of the router directly into my computer and configure both at the same time using that PORT software. And so this so far is the physical configuration. And so after this, of course, plug this into your computer and that's the next show. Now, the next video you will be watching is after this physical configuration, what happens next? What do I do? Now, remember, I just bought this device and they are old, or it could be that they were old configurations in this device. Of course, I have this is an old device where I've run some configurations. What I will do is I'm going to clean up this whole configuration in the next part of my video. I will clean up totally this whole configuration and start from afresh, assuming that I just bought this device. And so this is what I'm going to show you in the next video. So please join again in the next video for part 2. Thanks for watching.